Okay, so we're just finishing off this last example, which asked us to graph those three lines we just found on the calculator and just verify that they have the right properties, meaning that the first line that we found was parallel to the original line, and the second line we found is perpendicular to the original line, and those two lines we found contain the point, which was 2, 1. Okay, so I got the calculator turned on, and again, calculator is very good at graphing things if those things are solved for y. Okay, so if I hit this y equals button, I get what's called the equation editor. And what you'll see here is y1, y2, y3, and so forth. I can type in any number of equations if they're solved for y. Okay, the left side is y, and the right side I can type in any formula for x. Okay, so if you'll remember what our lines were in the last example, the original line that we were given, it wasn't solved for y, but I did solve it for y. And I got 2x, okay, minus 3 halves. Okay, that was the equation of the line. By the way, on the calculator, that x button is right here. Probably everything else you can find, it's xt, etc., etc. That button will put an x here. Okay, so that's my first line. Now if I arrow down one, I can enter another line. Okay, and I do need to enter another one. This is going to be the first line that we found. It was y equals 2x minus 3. Okay, so that line we're going to graph too. And finally, the last line was negative 1/2 x, okay, plus 2. Okay, so I've got that typed in. Now, by the way, easy thing to make a mistake on in this calculator is right here. If you want to make a number negative, you need the negative sign, okay, which is on the bottom row of the calculator. If you want to subtract, you need the minus sign, which is, or the subtraction sign I should call it, which is on the right side. So you've got to be careful there. If you ever get an error and you think you typed in everything correct, that might be it. Okay. Okay, so I've got all three equations typed in. So I just hit the graph button and it will graph all three of them. Okay. So that's the first one. That's the original line. Okay, the second one is the line that we found that was parallel, and it does look parallel. And the third one is perpendicular. Okay, now when you look at this, you might say, hey, that third line isn't perpendicular. Okay, well actually it is. It's just that the scale on the graph isn't really a good scale to see such things like that, because if you notice, the tick marks on the y-axis are a lot closer together than on the x-axis. One way to fix this, if you look down here and you hit this zoom button, you can hit zoom and then type the number 5. That'll do zoom square. Now what that does is it just kind of evens out the tick marks a little bit, so so they're all the same size. And now it looks like this third line really is perpendicular to the first two. Now if I take my video camera here and zoom in, we'll see how well it does. Probably can't get too much closer, but you remember these two lines that we found were supposed to contain the point 2, 1, and if you actually look a little closer on the graph, you can see that they do contain that point. Another way to see that would be to change the viewing window, or to even just hit this zoom button. If I hit zoom and I go zoom in, okay, and just press enter once, it'll zoom into the calculator, and what you see now, okay, without getting too fancy, the point 2, 1 is right about here, and it looks like those two new lines we found do contain that point, so everything looks good.